What's going on, everybody? Top 10 Pokemon here, and today I will be reviewing with you all the top Pokemon card auctions of the week. This week, once again, a great variety of both modern and vintage cards. We will be going over an absolute ton of PSA 10 First Edition WotC Holos, and I mean a ton. And we'll also be covering a bunch of high-end Yu-Gi-Oh cards that sold in the most recent PWCC monthly auction. So any Yu-Gi-Oh fans out there, stay tuned to the end to see those cards as well. If you're new to the channel, or if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. And also, please use my link below. If you do any shopping on eBay this season, it would give my channel a small kickback. So thank you in advance for doing that. I really appreciate that as well. So let's dive into these auctions, starting out with Celebrations with this crazy Ho-Oh. This regular run-of-the-mill Ho-Oh from Celebration set in PSA 10 that sold for $122.50. So folks, there are two fails going on here. The first one is that somebody graded this card at $150 a pop, and the second fail would be somebody bought this card at $122.50. Folks, don't invest your hard-earned money, $122 into this extremely common card from Celebration set. I just sold 5 of these Ho-Ohs, plus like 30 some other Holos from Celebration set for like 10 bucks. So yeah, don't do that. We had here from Chilling Reign set a Galarian Slowking V, very grungy looking Slowking. I don't know, I'm kind of feeling it now. I wasn't at first, but it's kind of growing on me. This card sold as a PSA 10 for $201.50. And then from Evolving Skies, we have this Umbreon V PSA 10 that sold for $375. Also from Evolving Skies, we have this beautiful Espeon V card in PSA 10 that sold for $255. And it's also interesting to note that this card is SGC 10, sold for $152.50. Speaking of SGC, we have an SGC 10 Dragonite V from Evolving Skies that sold for $247. A PSA 10 Rayquaza VMAX sold for $528. And a CGC 10 Pristine Rayquaza V card sold this week for $455. Here are a few miscellaneous modern cards to go over. This is a Lusamine Full Art Trainer from Ultra Prism that sold for $250. A Rayquaza GX Rainbow Rare from Celestial Storm sold for $425. And then the Shining Lugia promo in PSA 10 sold for $435. And lastly, for our modern, we have this Charizard GX from Hidden Fates in PSA 10 that sold for $790. I am still surprised this card ever broke less than $900. It took forever, but we're finally seeing this card, come down a little bit more. The PSA 10 and the BGS 10 population, for that matter, is astronomical for this card. I always wondered how it could stay as high as it was, but yeah, for this card, $790 this week. Up next, we got a bunch of old school EX cards that I'm going to go through real quick, so pay attention. We had 3 cards from Hidden Legends set, the Groudon EX that sold for $405, the Metagross EX that sold for $510, and the Ninetale EX that sold for $1,226. We had this Rocket's Moltres EX from EX Team Rocket Return set that sold for $798. And then from Unseen Forces, we have this Rocket's Persian EX that sold for $1,494 as a PSA 10 example. From Fire Red Leaf Green, here's a Gengar EX that sold for $1,623. And then the Latias EX from Dragon Frontier sold for $1,252. The Rocket's Entei EX in PSA 10 sold for $840. And the Vaporeon EX from EX Delta Species sold for $1,273. Here's a Cacturne EX from the Emerald set that sold for $1,125, while the Groudon EX Black Star promo sold for $660. And then we also had a Rayquaza EX Black Star promo that sold for $2,550. Here is a Charmander Holo from the Dragon set. This is the City Championship card that sold for $520 as a PSA 10. And then here is a Charizard Gold Star card from EX Dragon Frontiers in PSA 9 that sold for $3,875. Only one Level X card this week, and that was the Palkia Level X from Platinum set that sold as a PSA 10 for $605. And then here is a card I've never reported on before. It is a Zangoose Holo from EX Sandstorm in PSA 10 that sold for $1,035. All right, a bunch of cards from the E-Series sets, Expedition and Aquapolis. Let's start with this Raichu Holo that sold for $598. This Ninetales from Expedition sold for $460. This beautiful Hypno from Aquapolis, I love this artwork. It sold for $545 this week. The Vileplume Holo sold for $825. The Azumarill Holo sold for $454. Here's a Blossom that sold for $885, while the Nidoking Holo from Aquapolis sold for $587. We have a Victory Bell Holo that sold for $360, and a Magneton Holo that also sold for $360. The Ninetales Holo sold for $570, and the Entei Holo sold for $932. Here is a holographic Executor from Aquapolis that sold for $980, and this Holo Arcanine sold for $1,225. And this is one of two crystal cards I've seen sell this week. It is a Crystal Kingdra from Aquapolis that sold for $1,602 as a PSA 10. Alright, let's keep it going. We have a bunch of first edition WotC Holos from the Gym series. Here is a Brock's Rhydon from Gym Heroes, PSA 10 that sold for $510. The Erika's Clefable also for $510. The Lieutenant Surge's Magneton also for $510. We have an Erika's Vileplume that sold for $455. Lieutenant Surge's Electabuzz, $425. Misty's Tentacruel sold for $550, while Lieutenant Surge's Fearow sold for $1,148 this week. Rocket's Scyther and PSA 10 sold for $2,550. And the most expensive card sold from Gym Heroes this week is this Sabrina's Gengar First Edition Holo that sold for $3,250. Alright, some Gym Challenge cards here is a Giovanni's Nidoking and PSA 10 that sold for $643. This Koga's Ditto, probably the weakest holo in the entire set, sold for $265. A Rocket Zapdos, $755. Lieutenant Surge's Raichu, $490. Giovanni's Machamp sold for $520, and the Sabrina's Alakazam sold for $810. Brock's Ninetales First Edition sold for $510. Giovanni's Gyarados, $898. Koga's Beedrill, $1,275, and Misty's Golduck sold for $3,105. And then we had two examples of a first edition Blaine's Charizard. One sold for $3,586, the other one for $3,650. On to the Neo series, we had a first edition Steelix Holo from Neo Genesis that sold for $380. From Neo Destiny, a Dark Typhlosion sold for $610. And here we have an SGC-10 Shining Steelix that sold for $425, and an SGC-10 Shining Mewtwo that sold for $665. And the two biggest cards from the Neo series was this Ho-Oh First Edition from Neo Revelation set that sold for $4,000 even, and this First Edition Shining Gyarados from Neo Revelation that sold for $7,100. These two cards, two of my most favorite cards of all time, hitting some pretty impressive numbers this week. Alright, a couple of miscellaneous vintage cards. This is a non-holo first edition Snorlax that sold as a PSA 10 for $510. That kind of surprised me, that price, I gotta say. The first edition Koga Holo and PSA 10 sold for $744, but the SGC 10 version of this card sold for $161. And then here is an SGC 10 holographic Sabrina in first edition that sold for $250. And then here is a first edition German Venusaur or Bisaflor that sold as a PSA 10 for $1,325. A couple of booster boxes here to go over. This is one from Ancient Origins. Not exactly minty there, as you can see on the right hand side. It's got a little bit of a dent, but it sold for $650 this week. Here's an XY base set booster box that sold for $932, and an XY Flashfire booster box that sold for $2,400. And then here's a black and white Dragon's Exalted box that sold for $1,850. Only one thing from MetaZoo this week, and that is this Kickstarter box that sold for $9,100. And if you look at it, it's a non-alternating box. It says in the title 1 of 400. If you look on the back there, it says it right in the middle, non-alternating. I don't know what that means. Anybody who has knowledge of this particular MetaZoo box, fill me in the comments below, because I'm not quite sure what the non-alternating means. A couple of Japanese cards to go over. This is a PSA 10 Cramorant from the Pokemon stamp box. This is a Japanese card that sold for $305. And then you had a Pikachu from the Pokemon stamp box that sold for $495. Not quite feeling these cards. This art is not my thing. What do y'all think? And then a Japanese Lugia holographic sold this week for $859. Here we have an Illusions Zorua. I believe that's how you pronounce it. This is a Japanese promo kindergarten winner This was auctioned off by SM Pratt. I believe it's a very, very low amount of these were produced. This card in PSA 10 sold for $4,550. And lastly, for our Japanese cards, we have this Japanese base set Charizard in PSA 10 that sold for $5,201 this week. A couple of notable cards from the PWCC monthly auction. Here is a black label Charizard VMAX from Champion's Path that sold for $2,600 this week. Here is an extremely funky CGC 6 dark Golbat mixed in with a couple other cards. It says Doug Trio up there, but if you look at the card above it, I think it's a Dark Hypno. So I'm not sure why that wasn't included in the title, but this card sold for $3,100, and this is an error card if I've ever seen one. This Gold Star Alakazam from EX Crystal Guardians sold for $3,700, and this Japanese Gold Star Rayquaza sold for $11,000 even. Here is a Daisuke Club 8600 point goods card that sold for $11,500. All right, a couple of cards from Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not quite familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh!, but I'm gonna go over a few of these that really caught my eye. Here is a PSA 10 Chaos Emperor Dragon in first edition that sold for $4,200. Here is a first edition Injection Fairy Lily in PSA 10 that sold for $5,500. The first edition Dark Paladin sold for $5,000 even. A first edition Jinzo card from Pharaoh's Servant sold for $6,750. And then we have a first edition Exodia, the Forbidden One, that sold as a PSA 10 for $7,250. The first edition Dark Magician card sold for $7,500, while this Blue Eyes White Dragon promo sold for $9,250. Just about to the end of our auctions, we have this base set Unlimited Charizard in PSA 10 that sold for $14,500, and this Crystal Charizard from Skyridge set sold for $17,000 even. This complete PSA 9 first edition base set lot that sold for $55,000. I believe it includes every single card in PSA 9 condition. There were a few major sales via the PWCC Premier Auction. One of which was this 2005 Japanese Play Promo Gold Star Umbreon card, the 70,000 point card that sold for $78,000. A 2000 Topps Chrome Series Sparkle Charizard card in PSA 10 sold for $38,400. A 2012 World Championships #1 Trainer in PSA 9 card sold for $72,000. And the first edition PSA 10 base set Charizard sold for $288,000 for a PSA 10 copy. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in each and every week to watch this series. I appreciate it more than you know. Give this video a like on your way out, and I will see you all very soon.